Hello and welcome to the Business Spotlight interview series. I am your host, Barrett McDonald. I am joined today by Matthew Smith, co-founder of Market Price. Matthew, thank you so much for your time today and taking some time out of your busy day to jump into this interview. Would you like to kick things off with a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me. Matthew Smith, born and raised in the Maritimes. Went to St. Mary's University, got a Bachelor of Commerce degree there. That's sort of what kicked off my entrepreneurial spirit. I actually owned my first company while in my undergrad. It was a coastal running company, an apparel brand meant around running and ocean sustainability. And it was when I started that business that really this idea of wanting to work in the fashion industry sort of really started percolating for me. And with that in mind, I actually decided to go get my master's degree right out of undergrad. I went to the University of Oregon down in the States to do my master's degree in sports product management. I had some great opportunities while I was there. Worked at Reebok, Target, some pretty big brand names. All while this was going on, I was actually dating my co-founder, Lauren Ferguson, herself too, really big into the fashion industry, a lot of entrepreneurial background within herself. And she went to university in New York City called LIM and got her master's degree there. During COVID, both of us ended up reuniting full time in New York City. We had some opportunities to go there. And while in New York City, our love for retail, our love for fashion only grew. And while we were there, we had this idea of what if we could bring that New York style store back to Halifax with us. So eventually, once our visas started to run out, we made the decision ultimately to move back to Halifax to open up Market Price, and really bring that New York style store, New York style footwear, fashion, streetwear with us back to Halifax, but always keeping in mind that we want Halifax and Atlantic Canada be front and center in what we are doing with our store. So with the name Market Price, really taking it off of seafood, we took that same theme and applied it to the store and themed after a fish market. So all of our sneakers sit on ice, our clothing are in refrigerators. We do lobster graphics on T-shirts and things like that. Yeah, really opened up the store in July of 2023. So we're 6 months in now. We've seen a lot of growth, signed a lot of new brands really quickly, had some really cool collaborations already. We're really excited to see where this, next 6 months into our 1 year anniversary will lead us, and then ultimately, decades on.
Yeah, that sounds like there's definitely a lot going on. So one of the big struggles that everyone has as entrepreneurs is trying to find that balance with personal life and professional life and all of that. What are some of the strategies that you've developed in your time now?
Yeah, I think the best thing for us was that both myself and my partner really loved the industry that we were in. It was a passion for us. We're up all day reading news blogs, articles on websites, buying, trying on fashion. So having that background that where it was already our passion made that transition to our lifestyle a little bit easier. All of our conversations, whether or not they are business driven, are around fashion typically. So it makes that transition between both a lot easier. It seems less of a burdensome to us. Also, living together, dating, luckily, we're always together with each other. And we have really strong boundaries with that too. Lauren has her focus in the business, really the merchandising retail side of it. Mine's more on the storytelling, branding side of it. And with that, we work really well. I trust her in what she's doing. She trusts me in what we're doing. So that way, when we go home at the end of the day, there's no arguments about what decisions were made.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like a really good approach to that. So what would you attribute your growth to at this stage?
Yeah, I think growth for us. Luckily, we had a really early buy-in with our consumers. We really decided that we wanted to make the focus of the store being the Halifax waterfront, with the theme that we had behind the store, and then also opening in the summer on the Halifax waterfront. I think really quickly got us a lot of people in the doors talking about the store itself, which helped. Once people were able to see sort of the concept that we were doing, we weren't just another white box sneaker store. Um, it was became almost like a destination this summer for people to want to come check it out. And then on the second part, I attribute that to social media. We have a really
Yeah.
cool eclectic theme to the store. So a lot of people, when they come in, whether it's they're seeing our social media that we're generating or other people just filming within our store, it circulated very quickly within social media.
Yeah, that's amazing. So thinking back to your beginning time, what would you say are some of the misconceptions that you have discovered about owning a business, and what have you kind of done to combat them yourself?
Yeah, I'd say probably the biggest misconception. So both of us were working at a fashion house in New York, working, that 8 to 5. And like most people, you think, well, if I own this business, I can control my time, I can sort of control everything going on. Well, you get into entrepreneurship, you can't control everything. You know, if a pipe breaks in the middle of the night, you're running down to the store. If a customer has an issue, that's your issue. There's no one else to sort of pass it off on to. So really, you start to realize that it's no longer an 8 to 5; it's a 24/7 journey. But we took that on. Yeah,
You knew it was coming, you just didn't realize to what extent by the sounds of it,
exactly. Yeah,
which is really, really good. So I mean, not that you're anywhere near resetting your clock now, but if you were to look back at, let's say you opened in, what was it, June of 2023? So if you were
yeah.
to look back in the beginning, if you were to do it all over again, what would you do differently the next time around?
Yeah, I think for us, the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway we had in the 6 months, and then probably the biggest thing that we would have changed from the get go was better preparing ourselves us for those down months.
Yeah,
We know with any businesses typically down the waterfront or anything that's a little bit more seasonal, obviously foot traffic will slow at some point, and we did anticipate that. But I don't think we anticipated the lulls that we would have, especially during the holiday rush. Typically, you think of like a retail store around holiday constantly being busy. Um, that wasn't necessarily the case down on the waterfront, and that was probably
yeah.
something that we would have considered more, maybe looking at a pop-up location, or maybe traveling around doing different pop-ups throughout the Maritimes during those months to sort of supplement the revenue coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if it's just the two of you going 24/7, it doesn't leave a lot of time and for going to those different events and everything. So
Yeah.
when we had talked a little bit offline about you're thinking of the trajectory of bringing on staff. So when you think about bringing on employees in the future, what are some of the key qualities you feel that you guys will be looking for when you're onboarding people?
Yeah, definitely. For us, is understanding of the actual product and the industry itself. I think that's a unique aspect that both Lauren and I bring because we've had so many years in this industry. Although we are quite young, we've sort of been ingrained in it for the last 10 years. So someone that understands the product, understands the industry, and can obviously, keep up those conversations with the customers that come in because we have very educated customers that come into the store. They know what they want, so that would be the number one thing. And the number two thing would be someone who, from day one, obviously they're going to need to learn the processes, but at the same time can take ownership. So if we're not there, we trust them to make decisions and they won't constantly be calling us. That's probably the two big things that we're looking for.
Absolutely. Those are pretty massive things to find, and I'm sure that you'll be successful in finding them. So in wrapping up the call, for anyone who is going to be watching and listening, do you have any pieces of advice for someone who might be sitting on the fence wanting to jump into the entrepreneurial pool?
Yeah, my biggest piece of advice would probably just be dive in head first, know what you're doing, know the product you're selling, constantly be re-educating yourself within that industry. No industry is stagnant. New things are always popping up. There's always new leaders coming up in the industry. They're talking, listen to their podcasts, read newsletters, really just stay engaged with the industry that you're in, and it also just makes it a lot more fun when you do it that way. I think that's a big part about it. Have fun while you're doing it. Yes, there's tons of stresses that come with entrepreneurship, but if you're not having fun in it, why are you doing what you're doing?
Absolutely. Sounds like a great outtake on everything. So, Matthew, thank you so much for your time today. And for everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you in the next Spotlight series.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.